The story of the Clovis culture, first Americans of the Stone Age, a cultural legacy. In Episode 1, we discussed the discovery and significance of the Clovis culture, a prehistoric society known for its distinctive stone tool technology that dates back to about 13,500 years ago. But the story of the Clovis people doesn't end with their disappearance around 13,000 years ago. In fact, the legacy of the Clovis lives on in the oral histories and cultural practices of many Native American tribes, and their descendants continue to thrive across the United States today. Before we dive into this fascinating topic, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are all located. I know there are thousands of tribal nations across Turtle Island, as North America is known by many indigenous peoples, and I don't want to misrepresent or disrespect any particular tribe. So I encourage you to look up the history of the land where you live and learn about the First Nations whose traditional territory it is. You can find resources to help you do this through websites and social media pages dedicated to this purpose. Now let's get started. Though the Clovis culture disappeared over 13,000 years ago, their legacy lives on in the oral histories and cultural practices of many Native American tribes. According to these traditions, the Clovis people were the ancestors of many modern Native Americans, and their distinctive stone tool technology continued to be used and revered for generations. It's important to note that not all tribes have stories that connect them directly to the Clovis, and the connection isn't always considered unbroken. For example, the Hopi do not identify with the ancestral Pueblones who built the Chaco Canyon Pueblos, despite living in close proximity to them and being impacted by their culture in various ways. And some tribes, like the Cherokee, have stories of their origins that predate the Clovis culture. However, many tribes do have stories and artifacts that connect them to the Clovis and earlier cultures, and they see themselves as the descendants of these ancient peoples. One way that Native American tribes have kept the memory of their ancestors alive is through oral storytelling. Many tribes have stories about the creation of the world, the origins of humanity, and the deeds of legendary heroes that have been passed down for generations. These stories often include references to ancient tools and technologies, such as the Clovis points. For example, the Navajo have a story about the emergence of the first people from the underworld, who were guided out of the darkness by a hero named First Man. First Man carried a spear made of a petrified palm wood and a knife made of obsidian, both of which are similar to the tools used by the Clovis people. The Navajo believed that these tools were gifts from the gods that enabled their ancestors to survive the journey out of the underworld and establish a new life on the surface. Another example is the Lakota, who have a story about a great flood that wiped out most of humanity, except for a small group of survivors. The story goes that after the flood, the survivors emerged from their hiding place and found the world transformed. They were given tools made of stone and bone to help them adapt to the new environment. And these tools were similar to those used by the Clovis and other pre-contact cultures. For the Lakota, these stories are more than just tales of the past. They are a way of connecting to their ancestors and understanding their place in the natural world. The stories teach important lessons about the importance of respect, responsibility, and the interconnectedness of all living things. They also serve as a reminder of the fragility of life and the need for humans to live in harmony with the environment. But oral traditions aren't the only way that the legacy of the Clovis and other ancient cultures is kept alive. Many Native American tribes have museums and cultural centers that display artifacts from their ancestors, including Clovis points and other stone tools. These artifacts are not just objects of historical interest, but are seen as powerful symbols of cultural identity and resilience. For example, the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. has a collection of Clovis points and other artifacts from various Native American cultures. These artifacts are displayed in a way that honors the traditions and perspectives of the tribes they represent. Visitors to the museum can learn about the history and significance of the artifacts and the cultures they come from, as well as the contributions of Native Americans to society as a whole. The Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center in Connecticut has an impressive collection of Native American artifacts, including a number of Clovis points. The museum's exhibits explore the history and culture of the Pequot people from their ancestral origins to the present day, and they highlight the importance of preserving cultural heritage and promoting understanding between cultures. In addition to museums, many Native American tribes have cultural centers and heritage sites that preserve and celebrate their traditions. These sites often feature archaeological sites, cultural exhibits, and educational programs that teach visitors about the history and culture of the tribe. For example, the Acama Pueblo in New Mexico is home to one of the oldest continuously occupied settlements in the United States. The Acama people have lived here for over 1,000 years, and their culture and traditions are deeply rooted in the history of the region. The Acama Sky City Cultural Museum features artifacts from the Acama people and other indigenous cultures of the Southwest, as well as exhibits on the history of the area. The museum also has a gift shop that sells traditional Acama pottery and jewelry. The Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site in Illinois is home to the largest Native American city in the pre-Columbian Americas. The city flourished from about 800 to 1400 AD and was home to a large population of Native Americans. Today, visitors can explore the mounds and other archaeological sites at the park, as well as learn about the history and culture of the Native Americans who lived here. Despite the efforts of Native American tribes to preserve their cultural heritage, many artifacts from their ancestors, including Clovis points, have been lost or destroyed. Some artifacts have been stolen or smuggled out of the country, while others have been damaged due to neglect or vandalism. The loss of these artifacts is a tragedy for Native American communities, as they represent an important part of their cultural identity and history. In recent years, there have been efforts to repatriate stolen artifacts and protect sacred sites from vandalism. In 2013, the Smithsonian Institution returned a number of Native American artifacts, including a Clovis point, to the Zuni Pueblo tribe. The artifacts had been in the Smithsonian's collection for decades, but were finally returned to the Zuni Pueblo where they belong. Similarly, the National Park Service has worked to protect the Cahokia Mounds from vandalism and looting. In 2017, a man was arrested for stealing artifacts from the site, and in 2018, the National Park Service launched a campaign to raise awareness about the importance of protecting cultural resources. The efforts to preserve Native American artifacts and cultural sites are important not only for the tribes themselves, but for all Americans. As we learn more about the history and culture of Native Americans, we gain a deeper understanding of our shared heritage and the richness of American history. We also learn about the resilience and adaptability of Native American cultures, who have thrived despite centuries of persecution and cultural erasure. By preserving their artifacts and cultural sites, we ensure that future generations will have the opportunity to learn about and appreciate the contributions of Native Americans to our society and the beauty and diversity of our nation's cultures. We hope you enjoyed learning about the connection between the Clovis culture and modern Native American tribes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.